All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Tim from the program committee, and we're going to kick off the second half of the day here. So this is going to be a more interactive session. The presenters would love it to be a conversation. So we'll use the microphone there in the middle for questions. If you have a question, comment, just feel free to line up there, and we'll go in order. We also have the Q&A online, so we will take those in order as well. And so I want to introduce you to Anthony from Air New Zealand and Justin from Authsignal to come up and take it away.
Hi. Thanks for joining us in our afternoon session here. Hopefully you've had a nice break. Like Tim said, this will be more of a fireside chat conversation, so please start thinking of the questions you want as we go through the slides. Anthony has been on a journey, him and his team at Air New Zealand has been on this epic journey, being one of the early adopters of Passkeys. It started last year when he first arrived at Authenticate and shared his initial journey. It's been 1 year and a bit since launching Passkeys at Air New Zealand, so there's been a wealth of knowledge that's been accumulated, and we'll step through some of the highlights in the next couple of slides, but ultimately would love to answer any questions that you might have. So to recap, and you may have heard a little bit of this at the keynote yesterday, Air New Zealand rolled out Passkeys to their customers in May 2023. Air New Zealand were the first airline in the world to do this, and one of the biggest unexpected results out of it was twofold: the performance of the opt-in rates and conversion and success rates during our authentication flow, and the amazing customer feedback that Air New Zealand received. Anthony, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think it was a shocker because everyone's so used to things being hard, difficult, needing to educate people and stuff like that. And I didn't really take that approach of needing to educate. I sort of took the chance of going, no, I believe people are much more capable today, and the ease is the key. Getting that ease of uptake, getting the ease of knowing that this is going to make my life easier was the direction. That was, I think, one of the hardest things to get across to the business, that it's a new world, it's a new way of doing digital. We need to treat it like it's new. Take the chance of seeing what we can get out of it. So yeah.
Yeah, and to add, Air New Zealand started with their web properties, and I guess waited for the results from the web rollout to bed in, and before rolling out to their mobile applications, which I'll briefly touch on in a few slides. But after bedding it in the web, the results were pretty spectacular. And that gave you and your team a lot of confidence to completely go passwordless in December 2023.
Yep.
What was the reaction from your own internal business around moving past to a world of passwordless?
One bad thing about me is I always treat everything like it's nothing. So when I deploy, I just go, yeah, we're done, we're moving on. The rest of the business, we're like, what the heck? This is amazing. It's quicker, it's easier. We're not getting problems as much as we used to. So I do have to sort of take my step back sometimes and reconfirm, like, with the business, we've gone live with this. It is really good. One of the really big parts about that was, I think a lot of business people in the airline are not digital. They're on the ground in front of customers. They will hear and they will feel the problems. They felt that this was a much better experience for them and for the customer. Not needing to tell them to log into the app, recover their passwords, having extra steps that didn't add value. That was sort of the big thing. And trying to actually get the business to understand, some people they've grown up with complex password, it's really important to teach them that these days, to find someone's password is pretty easy. You can go online, you can probably look it up, and you'll probably find an old password that will probably work. Showing that there's no value in it, I think that was a big piece of trying to get across to the business, and that was, I think, the hardest thing about going passwordless is showing that that's not really valuable, it doesn't add anything. And yeah, it was successful. We haven't had any complaints about not having passwords. Everything is so seamless that we're now trying to add in a little bit of friction to actually build more data. So it's an odd scenario to actually start working on how can we add friction to actually get more out of it. So it's a bit backwards now. So that's sort of where we're up to.
And if it wasn't evident straight away in terms of business value, in the keynote you mentioned, and it's almost quite obvious, if you remove the password box, you remove the honeypot for bad actors to credential stuff. So naturally, credential stuffing went down to...
Oh, we don't even look at it really. So
Zero.
It's zero. The most we get is other threats.
Yeah.
But from a credential stuffing, that's gone, and it's taken off our cyber team. We don't get as many calls in that area. That was a constant headache. We used to get contact center getting bugged all the time. Lots of that has decreased.
So no more password reset calls to the call center?
No, because there's no more passwords. Account recovery is almost nothing. The worst case scenario is when someone loses their phone. But when they lose their phone, we're not the first people they really want to call. They want to try and get a new phone. And typically they have password managers that will move it across. Apple with key stores,
yeah.
with iCloud. You've got Google for most people on Android will use Chrome, and then Google Password Manager. Most of that transfers over. We don't have to sort of deal with any of those type of calls. Yeah.
Correct. And I think one of the, when you move away from passwords, you are shifting everyone to a passwordless authentication flow, which meant that you were able to upsell and uplift customers into Passkeys. And that is probably why in the next slide, your team launched full native mobile Passkeys just very, very recently in May, and you're getting that sort of performance in your flows because you're getting so many opportunities to upsell Passkeys. And if you're listening, it's you're looking at numbers of 67% of your customers, when shown an uplift screen, are opting in to Passkeys in your mobile ecosystem.
So the opt-in is across the board. Most of it is mobile app. It is our key aspects of getting that uplift. We, as you can sort of see in the clip, it is very much you just sort of click that you are deciding to log in. We do auto passkeys detection. We sign them in. We do not ask them to go, do you want to use passkeys? If we detect they've got it, we get them to choose it, to use it. We avoid giving them the other options as much as possible. We show that it's easy, and we show that it takes away the friction.
Yeah, and I'll try and bring up the video again by clicking back to the slide.
So with Air New Zealand, we have a lot of families and friends that will have multiple accounts. So like I have quite a few kids. I need all my kids to have AirPoint. So having the ability to just have all of their passkeys on my phone and select which account, I don't have to remember the username. I don't have to try and remember their passwords. I don't have to have all these different text messages. I can just select the one I want. I get my child in. I can then do what I need for the child. So there's quite a few benefits in that, not just from an individual, but even from a family point of view.
Now, from a business case perspective, you were able to use passkeys in your SMS cost reduction strategy. And the numbers, when coupled with other authentication methods, and you've mentioned that you've used WhatsApp as well, you're getting about a 90% reduction in your SMS costs.
Oh yeah, it's not even our primary method anymore. the two primary is Passkeys and WhatsApp. SMS is, I think, down to about 15% of logins that still want to use SMS because they don't have WhatsApp. That and cost saving has been massive for us. As I sort of brought up in keynote was SMS pumping. This is sort of the thing that saved us. Hackers are not going to get WhatsApp and get a phone number and start messaging us at this stage. So it took away all of those attacks. And then at the same time, we reduced our cost drastically with just doing that. Getting people to sort of, at the NC, that simple message to uplift the passkeys. Our experience is driven around passkeys. For a traveler, I'm overseas, I'm in an aircraft, I need to log in. Those key things is how we sort of focused on passkeys being the way of getting in. Avoiding messages, out of signal, data access points are much easier to get hold of these days than trying to get SMS and all of those type of things. So from a traveler point of view, it made all our travelers much more happier with being able to always get into their account if they need to book a new flight, purchase something with our loyalty scheme. It was a great benefit, and we didn't get pinged with sending text messages in different countries that are highly expensive.
Yeah, and there's some really good stories. In fact, customers thanking your team, that they were able to make changes on the in-flight Wi-Fi while their flight was about to get delayed in real time. Their next flight, book their next flight without any hassle. And I would compare that to my own experience on a different carrier where I just wanted Wi-Fi and I couldn't remember the password and I had to log in and I couldn't authenticate because I was 30,000, 40,000 feet in the air. So I think for the business that you're in and that you serve your customers, what passkeys are right at the top of the list in terms of usability. All right, so there is still about 10 odd minutes of question and answer, and we've got some online ones. Yeah.
First one, are you able to capture the loss of business due to users who are unable to log in with passkeys?
We have less drop-off rate. We actually have more business. It hasn't decreased. Our drop-off rate has decreased over this last year. So we used to have about, I think it's about the 35 to 40% drop-off rates when it comes to login because of passwords, needing to reset, people getting frustrated. And yeah, that's now down to like 5%, 10% type. So
the side effects of the cure is marginally a lot less than the actual the issues that you are facing without passkeys.
Without passkeys, our drop-off rate is crazy. Trying to keep that drop rate is hard. So getting passkeys and passwordless was the saving. One of the things on top of that I wouldn't mind adding is we have our marketing team typically do not ever want customers to log in, too much friction, because they see the drop-off rate. They've actively now requested to have login part of their campaigns. We've just done a massive campaign in New Zealand, and it's been one of our most successful marketing campaigns, including login for customers to actually get in the draw for the campaign that we had. So it's actually done the opposite. And I think that's where people are actually not thinking that way. They're thinking, oh no, typical passwords, it's friction, this is going to make it harder. So our marketing team has actually taken this and gone, actually, we can make this even better for us.
That's pretty cool because with third-party cookies now being very difficult in the marketing world, having an authenticated user becomes highly valuable.
Yeah.
Great.
Hello, I'm Manisha from eBay. I have a question that while launching passwordless, did you go for your whole user base or did you do it like step by step? And a follow-up on that, did you see any interesting pattern in different user groups?
I didn't segment my customers. I treated all the customers exactly the same. I found just applying to all of our customers, one is easier from a digital point of view, so it is easier just to turn it on. But we already had enough data to show just going straight to passwordless was a better option than adding confusion. So like I was saying, I have like lots of kids, we have lots of accounts. If we start segmenting our customers, we now have them seeing the difference of experience. And that segment would then cause more calls to the contact center. Why don't I have this? Oh, is this now not safe and secure? It adds more questions to customers, and you don't want them to have that many questions. You want them to feel like it's safe. So building that concept of safe first is more important than trying to segment your customers. Yeah.
And one of the data points you had at hand was your MFA completion rates, which definitely showed that people were completing passkey challenges versus OTP, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's right.
Let me do one more online and then I'll come back to you. I just lost it. Is the auto passkey detection feature you talked about on mobile only on mobile, or is it also available in the browser?
It is on all methods. We have it on web and we also have it on mobile. Mobile is always a better experience with auto detection. You can't really beat the mobile experience. It knows exactly where you're up to. It knows what to trigger. Web, it does come down to the browser experience. So certain browsers are better than others, but we do have it across both. When I launched it, I launched with it. It wasn't and now I'm going to launch. I always had in the mindset that experience of passkeys from the beginning needs to really set what it's going to provide you long term. So if I was to separate it, it was going to make it a lot harder to start showing the value because they would start feeling friction. So removing that friction was key for that beginning step.
Yeah. So autofill on the web, autofill on mobile, and I guess for MFA style scenarios, there was where Authsignal kicked in was having a little bit of logic to try and navigate detection of a passkey, so that eased some of the user experience issues.
Yeah.
Tatsuya Karino from Mercari. I want to clear one point. The still user has the option to use a password, or clearly all of the users have to use a passkey to register passkey to use your services. I want to clear one.
I don't have passwords at all. I do not give the customer an option to re-enable passwords and for them to do that. So they do not have an option for password. I do have the option to sign in passwordless using an OTP. So they can use email OTP or they can use WhatsApp OTP or SMS.
So user still can use the SMS OTP to log into the account?
Yeah.
I see. In that case, there are the kind of a phishing attack to attack the SMS OTP?
There is phishing attacks, and we have put in boundaries around how to sort of reduce that from happening. We do monitor a lot of the SMS components, but SMS is quite small.
I see.
So it's only in the 15-17% of all of our customers using SMS. WhatsApp is the majority.
Yeah.
We push WhatsApp first. Most customers will not switch to SMS because they're like, oh, okay, I'll open up my WhatsApp app, grab the code. So that's how I've sort of dealt with a lot of the phishing attacks with SMS. But at the same time, we do heavily monitor the SMS because there's SMS pumping, there's phishing, there's a lot of attacks that still happen with SMS. So yeah.
So and to couple that with some risk-based logic to identify high-risk devices which may require additional levels of assurance. So you could chain your authenticator types regarding, I guess, requiring for an additional 2 factors, for example, using weaker factors. So
yeah.
I think that's on the cards as well.
Yeah, and probably another real key part is one of the things that, from an authentication point of view, yes, I may have the OTP. I still do all of the device checks, the behavior checks, the IPs, everything, to determine if that is still the right device, right person. So if I suddenly see an SMS getting entered from an impossible travel, I'm going to block it because that's looking like it's a phishing attack. So I use MFA components for policy management to decrease the risk. And if anything is high, we do block because we can tell if a customer's switching too fast and stuff like that.
I see. Thank you. It's very helpful.
Thanks.
So similar question online. You mentioned attacks like credential stuffing are down and support calls for account recovery are down. Have any kind of attacks or support calls increased in volume?
SMS pumping has been the largest one. That is a very hard one to get around. Anyone that's been hit by it, it is a high cost. They know it's a high cost. You do have to be quite creative with the way you look at SMS, so you do need to try and decrease it as much as you can. So my big driver to get to WhatsApp was a big driver to get to there because it was to handle those attacks of SMS pumping. So we do have to just block certain countries and lose the business for SMS logins from there. But because we give these alternatives of Passkeys and WhatsApp, we didn't actually end up, we've mitigated all the risk of the customers not being able to get in. And that's sort of been the positive aspect.
Okay, first, thank you for the wonderful discussion. I have one question regarding to the account recovery. Like you just mentioned, since you just totally moved to the passwordless, so you don't have the password reset anymore. But what about the account lockout? Did you see a rise or drop of the account lockout rate? And how do you deal with the account lockout?
So we don't get many account lockouts. That's not really a process that we have in place. I more give a postpone. So I postpone how long you can try to log in again. So it's more time bound and then it's auto unlocked. If an account is getting logged in too many times and that happens, then we would get to that, but we haven't been able to actually get customers to get to that point. Most of the attacks, if the ones that we've seen that are coming through, the hackers tend to drop off pretty quick because they realize it's passwordless, they're not going to get in, they're going to make some noise, and then they know that we're going to block them if they stay around too long. So we don't lock accounts. From a recovery point of view, it's usually recovering the username because people always forget their usernames, and that's the only part that's sort of left now for recovery. But if you did lose your phone, you can't get your mobile phone number again, that's where the recovery process is. It's a real recovery. And that we're a little bit lucky being an airline. We have a lot more personal data from a traveling point of view that we can use to recover someone's account. Yeah.
Did you see there's a lot of this kind of account recovery requests coming in? Because if you go passwordless, that means it's like for the attacker, it is very hard to try to attack the account. So most probably they will go to the recovery flow because the recovery flow will go through human and human make mistakes. So did you see any rise to like the account recovery flow goes through humans?
We did put a new process in the contact center to handle all of those type of things. So if you go through our contact center, we do actually force you back to a digital to log in. That in itself does push away a lot of the phishing attacks to try and recover through that. So because we have other methods now to authenticate over the phone, it does actually scare away a lot of the people that used to call. So we've had a decrease. But we use Passkeys in our contact center as well as our digital.
Yeah, I guess reducing that human element as much as you can, including the call center.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
All right, so unfortunately we are at time. Will you guys be able to go to the speaker corner outside after this for more questions? Okay, so right outside here to the right, you can ask some more questions. So please thank Anthony and Justin for this conversation.